We're going to talk about something today that you probably already acknowledge, whether you want to say it out loud or not, is that most agents are really good at making money and are really bad at keeping it. You've either been there yourself, I'm sure, or have someone in your life who's a realtor who has experienced this, that we get a ton of money in and it just goes right back out the door, right? The industry itself is kind of ripe for this. We've got inconsistent incomes. We've got self-employment taxes that we have to contend with. And there's no inherent structure for stability or consistent income unless we create it ourselves. And so what I'm offering up today is our few different ways to systematize financial systems that you should be utilizing to get out of the hustle and bustle side of things and actually create long-term wealth. The first one, we've talked before about what you should do when income comes into your account. Now what I'm going to talk about is there's also 4 different accounts in general, bank accounts in general, that I think bare minimum you must have to have success with this. The first one is that you got to have a business income account. This is where all of your commission checks are put into to begin with. From there, we're going to have a tax account, an account that is set aside specifically for the tax monies that we're going to be paying to the government. The next one is going to be an operating expense account. Obviously, we need to make sure that we have a pool of money that is set aside specifically to operate the business. And the last one is a personal, at least one personal account that we are going to pay ourselves with. If you don't know anything about paying yourself, go back to the video we put out a couple weeks ago where we talked about making sure that you're paying yourself. The next thing here is that we're going to talk about tracking, and tracking from an effective standpoint, not a vanity standpoint. A lot of agents get caught in the keeping up with the Joneses hustle of I need to buy the next fancy car, the next Rolex, a bigger house, a better vacation. That's not the kind of tracking that we're talking about. What I'm asking us to look at is a couple of specific areas. I want you to look at your net profit. What am I actually bringing home as a business net at the end of the month, quarter, and year? I'm also curious about your cost per deal. How much are we spending to get the money back in? And is there an actual ROI there? And then I also encourage you guys to look at what is my effective hourly rate, which is going to force me to then ask additional questions like, am I spending my time in the things that make the most sense or not? We already talked about taxes, but taxes is the third point that I want to make sure that we highlight here. You should be setting aside, if you don't know already, an exact number from your accountant, 25-30% of each commission check, so that way you are not going to be in the hole when it comes to pay your quarterly taxes. Speaking of accountant, you should absolutely be working with an accountant and one who understands your business specifically and the way that we run our models. And then obviously too, some folks forget about this. It may be worth considering, should I open an S Corp versus just an LLC to run my business? And that's a great question for your accountant as well. The last point here, I'm going to call health versus hustle. Right, hustle culture says every dollar that you get needs to get reinvested right back into the business. Never stop, keep grinding, keep going, keep growing. I'm going to argue against that. Instead of the hustle culture, I'm going to argue for long-term health, which means that we're going to be focusing on things like your retirement and investments. How am I going to get out of the rat race? We're also going to be spending on things that we actually care about. There's nothing wrong with spending money. Spend it on things that truly bring you joy and restore you and bring back your creativity. And then also looking at, am I building a business that runs itself, or am I stuck in a business that may be bringing me money, but I can't leave? And how do you leverage yourself out of that, right? Generally speaking, I always think to myself, what is the point of having a strong, robust real estate business if I'm just stuck being, a pawn to my own business? So some of these money hacks will get us out of that pawn state and into a more fluid, what is it that I can do to retire, have freedom, have flexibility state.